to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You can bow your heads. Our Father in heaven, we're so grateful to be able to gather tonight to do the work of the people in Wells County that we represent. We ask that you continue to watch over our military, our first responders, police, sheriff, all those folks that work hard every day so that they can protect us and allow us to be able to meet. We say these things in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, the first line of work tonight is to approve the May 6th, 2026 minutes. I know Lisa sent them out as usual. If no one has any questions or issues, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Todd. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Vicki. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And we have a couple of additionals, one for Superior Court. You want to come up, Judge?
Evening.
Evening.
Thank you for your service. This is an appropriation for psychiatric services. We've had, again, like last year, a number of individuals whose ability to assist their counsel is in question, and when that happens, I have to appoint two psychiatrists or psychologists. If they don't agree, then I have to go and get one more, see what what that is. If parties don't agree, they come into court and we have them testify. Usually that doesn't happen, so we'd have more expense if that would happen. But these appropriations I'm asking for ones that we have had done. And my staff had on here that we were in the red $1,100 already. So this is to cover, I think, one or two additionals that we already have had done. I'd like to say I'm not going to be back before you for the rest of the year on these, but I just don't know. And I'm not going to ask for more than what we need. This is what we need right now, and I'd appreciate if we could get this so we get our bills paid. And I'll take any questions.
Seems straightforward.
I think we've seen this before.
Yep. All right, do I have a motion to go ahead and approve the additional for $5,300?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Steve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Judge.
Petro, did you want to come up, talk about the Duke Energy Foundation grant?
Evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Evening.
Yes, Duke Energy Grant, I put in a request for $6,125 through them, their foundation, and was granted that grant, if you will. That money is allocated for 175 severe weather radios that will be donated or given out to residents within our county. So I'm here before you this evening asking that we can go ahead and spend that to get it started.
What do those radios do for people within the county who request them or use them?
So what I've been doing in the past, when I first came into office, we had, I want to say close to 5 or 6 that was left from a grant several years ago. And what I done with it is during Severe Weather Week, I done a drawing each day through social media and picked a winner. And I just randomly chose those people that got on our Facebook page and so forth. And so I was giving those radios away. Well, this year, during the Seniors Day out at the 4-H park, I was out there, set up a booth, went through, actually give a speech about senior citizens and how to prepare for disaster and what to do and different things like how to protect all of their proper paperwork, you know, if they had DNR, their insurances and so forth. And it was a really good program. And I actually was giving away radios out there as well to the folks that were involved in that day. We're going to do the same thing at the Wells County Fair. We're going to set up a booth and I'm going to be giving away radios during that time as well. But it's a severe weather radio that people can put in their home, and as soon as the National Weather Service issues a watch or a warning or any immediate danger weather, it goes off and it gives you just that much time to prepare for it. One other thing that's not on here, I just bring it to your quick attention. August 11th is our LEPC full-size scale disaster drill, and you all will be getting an invitation to appear for that. Hopefully you can make that plan to be there, just because this is gonna be a very large-scale event that actually several different departments from the Department of Homeland Security are gonna be involved with. So it's coming, we're in the pre-planning stages of it, and I'll be sending you all invitations to be there. Anything else?
Thank you, by the way, for the emails today on the work that you're doing, shoring up some of our policies and procedures around.
A lot of big things have been happening in my office, that's why I was
Appreciate
sending
it.
them out to you today, so you could kind of see.
Well, thank you for doing that.
Stop in and see me. Thank you, folks.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the Duke Energy Foundation grant for $6,125?
Yes.
Thank you, Scott. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is that Todd? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Rena, you want to come up? Looks like you have a transfer for us tonight.
Yes. The transfer would be from our office supplies to dues and fees. It is, that would be going to pay for National Association of Counties. With being on the AIC board, they are wanting all of us, all the counties, to join NACO. Wells County used to be a part of NACO, but the commissioners have not paid for it the last couple of years. And in 2028, the National Convention will be in Indianapolis. With me paying for it, any of the county offices, it includes all the county offices. It's not just the recorder, it would be for auditor, surveyor, clerk, any of the offices, council, commissioners.
Okay.
And out of the 92 counties, there are 29 that do not belong, and Wells is one of the 29.
Any idea why?
Lisa, do you remember why the commissioners chose not to pay for it?
Any questions for Rena? If not, do I have a motion to approve the transfer?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Vicky. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brandon. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Rena.
Thanks, Rena.
It occurs to me, I don't have a microphone.
Just talk real loud.
Just scoot them on down. It's on.
Yeah.
He figured it out.
Here you go. Here, Scott, I'll switch with you and we'll just move them on down.
Oh, fine, we can share.
Was there an extra one?
Yes, there's an extra one right there.
There we go.
There we go.
Everybody can hear.
They're all connected. Here we go.
This one's not on.
There you go.
Okay. That was okay if it was off.
There it is.
Mr. Ramsey, if you want to come up with Pike County Services for your annual presentation. Thank you for joining us tonight. Okay.
Thank you. Got good. Thank you, though.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
A brief presentation tonight. We received an increase last year, and so we're not requesting an increase this year as we agreed upon a few years back. We are still asking for approval for the $47,678 that we receive now. So I've already presented this to the Adams County government, and they both wings have approved that. And then to the commissioners last night also. So, main challenges we have, there's, everything in the news is Medicaid. So that really affects us because almost all of our funding is Medicaid. So we will see what the government's gonna do over the next 6 months to a year. They really don't have a set date We're hoping for some news July 1st, but we will see. So till then, we're just patient, and then we'll adjust as we need to. Actually, we've done pretty well so far this year under some tough conditions. We're positive over $12,000. Last year was over $200,000, so big change, but we're just happy to be in the black. So right now, we are providing services for 50 people in Adams County and 59 people in Wells County, which is a lot less than what we normally do, just because of staffing issues over the last few years on that, and also because Medicaid is not allowing us to fill any open positions, and we have several open positions that we cannot fill. So which impacts the people here in the county that aren't receiving service, and also it impacts our revenue.
Mind explaining why Medicaid is not letting you fill those spots?
Well, I think it really goes back to the ABA situation where for autism, and that they had allowed a whole lot of providers into the system, and it started small, but over the last several years, it grew into actually billions of dollars that have been spent. So Medicaid is kind of upside down in the state of Indiana as far as being overspent. So they've kind of frozen everything. They're working through a lot of different changes in every single area. And then one of those right now is the fact that we have too many people in the system for Medicaid, so they want to lower that down to what their budget is going to be. We don't even know what the budget's going to be yet. I still don't think they have anything from CMS as far as what the feds are going to actually give the state. So there's just a lot of questions right now. So. Any other questions?
So if you're running surpluses, what's going on with the surplus? You said you experienced a positive revenue last year over operating costs of $260.
That's just actually for the first several months of this year. So we're up $12,000 for our fiscal year, which starts July 1st.
What happened to the surplus last year?
Surplus last year, it's just in our bank. Yeah. It just goes into our general operating fund.
So without any ability to add extra staff, what happens to surpluses over time? Do they just grow?
We're not getting, we're not receiving approval to add any additional consumers for the people that we serve.
Right.
So those are open beds, open slots that we don't have there to provide services. So we actually are losing all of that money that we would have been providing services. So in most cases, we've still got the same amount of staff because we're staffing certain houses and so on, so you can't really change that. But you just have like an open bed that you aren't being paid for that open bed.
Any other questions for Tim? Now, we approve this at budget season because it goes into the commissioner's budget, right? And then we approve it there. We don't do it tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Tim, for your presentation.
Thank you, appreciate your time. Yep.
Jessica.
Hello.
Hello.
I just have a pretty simple CF1 compliance form for Haven Manufacturing, which is now Cadrex. Just so we all know, that one's, I think it changed about 2 years ago officially, but just one simple CF1 here to get approved. It's really simple. They have, stated number of employees. They're over that. They're far over their salaries and expected payroll. So they're well within their range, meeting their compliance. I did visit with them on May 19th. Running a good operation. They're making some changes, some good efficiency changes within their facility. All of these pieces of equipment are still in use there, and they've upgraded and have not filed for an additional SB1 or any of those. They're making some property improvements and again have not filed for anything. They're able to handle those without a reduction in taxes, so they're doing good work.
The acquisitions just kept things going as usual.
Yeah, and with
They're
improvements.
planning on
With improvements.
improvements?
Mhm.
Okay. So they're planning on keeping everything going as
As
is?
of now, yep, they're just making staffing improvements. They have an aging workforce, like a lot of people do, so they're working through efficiency things. How do they, better perform on their lines? So on and so forth. All
Good.
basic things, but yeah, they're well within their range for approval.
Okay.
How many total is there? There's seven of them?
Oh, I have one.
Six, isn't it?
Maybe you
Yeah.
guys had.
Yeah, I'm looking.
So
yeah,
sometimes they
I'm
send them
looking
to me and
sounds different,
sometimes they just
yeah.
send them to you.
It's six different
Yeah, you
ones.
got
Let's
six
start from the
different ones.
top then, if you don't mind. Give me, resolution numbers. That might be helpful for me.
2022-03.
Okay? Is that your first one? Is everybody on that one?
Yep.
And then 2018.
Let's start, if you don't mind, let's just do them one by one.
Okay.
Since I only had the one. Again, they come to me separate than how they're submitted to the county. I think I'm good. Tell me if you guys want, just to give me an idea of what's on there and I can tell you a little bit about it.
It says the current employee estimate was 45, actual is 40.
Yeah,
Okay, so that was so the one I'm looking at is from 2025. So if you take a peek at 2025's, you're gonna see that their actual is 45.
that's the latest one.
Yep,
Okay. Is that,
It's on the vet, near the second to last page, second to last page. It's the most recent, actual's 45 and salaries are quite a bit higher.
because some of the other ones are less,
Yeah,
all right?
as you work backward.
Yeah.
But they're dated back to 22.
Yeah, I'm just looking at here.
Yeah.
Right. That's gotta be kinda strange, isn't it, when you got them in the same, the equipment's in the same building, and they're just estimating how many employees would be working.
and remember, this has to line up with how they file their tax returns.
Yeah.
So it also depends on their depreciation structure and different things like that, so. They will only be able to file on compliance-wise what they're filing taxes on. We can't debate what's not being taxed, so they're just submitting what they filed on their tax returns.
Okay.
So is the total number of employees 45, is that correct?
They're actually higher than that,
Yeah.
but in regards to this machinery and equipment upgrade, go off of the 45, but they are higher than that.
But we're looking.
Approving all.
of them, yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
it's all of them, right?
Yeah, we're approving all.
Yep.
Annually.
And I'm sorry that I didn't have that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
you are.
okay.
You're approving all of the ones that you have.
I'm with you now.
And I'm happy to answer questions on them. If I need to take a peek at one, I'd be happy to do that.
Any other questions for Jessica? If not, do I have a motion to approve the Haven Manufacturing CF1 compliance forms?
Make that motion.
Thank you, Brian. Do I have a second?
I'll make second.
Thank you, Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thanks, Jessica. So Nate had a conflict for tonight, and I told him, we have a lot of feedback. So I told him that, he gave me an update on what that was for. If you remember at our last meeting, we approved the interlocal between the county and with Bluffton. Bluffton came back and said that the only thing that they wanted to change on the interlocal was that it said $50,000 or more in the match with what Bluffton and the county are doing. They just wanted to say, Bluffton, if you go above 50, they've got to be notified. So suddenly Bluffton can't get a bill for 75 grand when they thought it was going to be 50. So pretty simple change was simply that if it goes above $50,000, Bluffton just has to be notified about why the overrun or why the project went higher for the amount that they would owe.
Is that a resolution, or what is that?
It's just an interlocal.
It's just an interlocal agreement.
I'll probably put a miscellaneous.
Yeah. So, but it seemed pretty straightforward to me. I know in the county spot, I would want to know
potential limit to the upside, so I get why Bluffton's asking for it, so.
Did the commissioners get a chance to talk about this last night?
They approved it.
Okay.
They did like a meeting ago. They meet more
Yes.
frequently, so
And
they
then
did
went
it,
to the
yeah.
city and they approved it, now it's you.
So could I have a motion to approve the Harrison 1059 interlocal agreement?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Steve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brandon. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next one is probation circuit court staffing requests, and I know we have Judge Kirchhoff and Mr. Pastore here, if you want to come on up. That's an easy cop-out. That's all I'm gonna say. You just don't want to come up and have, there are 2 chairs there, Steve, so.
Good evening.
Good evening, Judge.
Thank you for the opportunity to allow us to speak to you tonight. I'm here to discuss a staffing reorganization concept that probation and the circuit court, have been developing over the last several months. The proposal is trying to be, is that mine? Okay. The proposal is trying to be, sorry. We're trying to be creative or innovative to improve some services that we're currently offering, increase kind of our operational flexibility and functionality, and reduce some costs. I'll give a little background. The probation department currently has 2 budgeted secretary positions, and each position is budgeted at $46,160.74. About a year ago, last year, in 2025, one of those employees left the probation department. Rather than immediately fill that position, probation attempted to operate with a single administrative person to determine whether the second position could ultimately be eliminated. We, for the 2026 budget year, we budgeted in because we weren't sure if the experiment was working. Through the efforts of the remaining probation secretary, that employee, Mr. Pastore, the other probation staff, the department has been able to make that arrangement work. Overall, the experiment has been successful, even though enough that we believe the position that second position can remain unfilled. However, operating with only one administrative person has created has exposed some challenges that we haven't anticipated. For example, when that employee is on vacation, sick leave, other paid days off, the department has no administrative support. In addition, the aim, the goal of probation is to remain open during lunch hour, and so the public can continue to access the services. And when that employee is at lunch, we have to have other lunch coverage, and that usually is a probation officer has to leave their kind of work area, their office, and come out to the central office. If you've been to the probation department or the office up there and see how it's kind of physically laid out, some of those offices are back in the back part, so they have to kind of come out front and be there during the lunch hour. At the same time, my court operates with 3 administrative positions with different tasks and different titles. One is a court reporter, one is the court administrator, and one is the bailiff. The court reporter is primarily responsible for recording hearings, maintaining exhibits and evidence, preparing orders following hearings, and assisting me during the court proceedings. The court administrator handles budgeting, claims, mandatory quarterly and annual reports, scheduling hearings with attorneys, and assisting the daily operation of the court. And then finally, the bailiff assists the daily court operations, but is also responsible for jury management, including jury notifications, communications with jurors, and then the trial support during an actual jury trial. So I'll hand you, this is what the current budget looks like with employees. This is what the current 2025, 2026 budget looks like for those staff positions. And in addition, I failed to mention, one thing I had budgeted for is a law clerk position, to the idea that we could have some, ideally like a law student, like a third-year law student to be kind of fill in and assist with the court with some things, and just have not filled that position. So while all 3 of my positions share some common responsibility, each position also performs specialized functions, as I mentioned, and what's happened over time is that each employee has become focused on his or her own responsibilities, and they kind of work in a silo a little bit. And that really becomes evident when somebody's on vacation, somebody's out sick, and one of my staff comes in to do primarily the court reporting, because holding court hearings is what's got to continue on. So when my court reporter's gone, someone else fills in, and that's where those problems become really evident. So collectively, my 3 employees utilize approximately 10 to 12 weeks of vacation, sick leave, and personal leave. And during these absences, again, that coverage for court, allow me to just continue to run court, becomes a challenge. So the proposed solution is that rather than simply filling vacancies and continue to operate under the current structure, the court and probation department propose reorganizing to create a larger pool of cross-trained employees. Under this proposal, the court administrator, the bailiff, and the probationary secretary positions would be restructured and cross-trained to perform the core functions for both the court and the probation department. Instead of employees working primarily within their separate areas of responsibilities, we would kind of try to find a way to cover each other's duties more regularly, so there's more familiarity with what they're doing, and try to cross-train everybody and have everyone available. We think the benefits would include better coverage during vacations, sick leaves, et cetera, continuous coverage during lunch hours for both offices, improved service to the public, greater flexibility and ability for myself and the probation department to assign work to employees, in the elimination or increased efficiency amongst the employees then. And to support this idea, what we propose is assigning additional administrative responsibilities to the Chief Probation Officer, Greg Warrick. He would assume some of the responsibilities that the he would assume the responsibility of coordinating the daily work assignments, where people are working those particular days, handling those things, overseeing the cross-training, and also then handling some of the current duties the court administrators handle currently, like budgeting, claims, and the reporting obligations that the court has to fulfill quarterly and annually. Those would all fall on the Chief Probation Officer. But it would provide clear supervision, accountability, and coordination between the court and the probation officer. The administrative staff would report to him, who then he would report to me and keep me abreast of what's going on with the staff. Because the positions would assume substantially different and expanded responsibilities, and they would expect to perform duties beyond their current job description, we're requesting these positions be compensated at the same level as the current court administrator position. This would increase both the bailiff and the probation secretary to the $46,162.74. So this is the proposed.
Floor is probation.
They're on the 4th floor, I'm on the 3rd.
Will that be a problem?
No, that's a great question. And I think that can be accomplished a couple of reasons. It's just the one floor up. Some of the daily tasks that my staff would do, for example, case filing, processing filings as they come in, pleadings when they come in, can be handled at any computer term. They sign in and they can do that work there. So for example, the probation, whoever's in the probation office could log in and do some court work. And conversely, probation is pretty much paperless as well. So if my employee, the court employee, so to speak, is down in the court's office doing work, they could do some things, trying to find ways to make the calls, calls can be transferred, things like that. We use Teams, things like that to make it as seamless as possible. Just people working in different areas is the idea. So again, a new job description would be developed to reflect the expanded responsibilities and the expectation of these positions. In addition, the Chief Probation Officer would assume those additional roles and request an additional $2,500 compensation for that position. Even with the restructuring, we believe there remains an immediate need for limited part-time assistance. There will be occasions when vacations overlap, training occurs, or additional administrative support is needed, and therefore requesting $10,000 for a very part-time hourly employee who can provide supplemental coverage when necessary. Our goal is to see if this long-term, and this kind of covers this in kind of the gap as we're getting people trained to cover if this part-time position, we need that position regardless of what happens here tonight. That's something that we're gonna need. There's too many gaps for the probation department right now. But we think that this is a position, we'd like to see where we are. Again, try this for a few months and see what gets us, if we get people trained, and go from there. If we continue on, we need a part-time position, that's something we could ask for. If we don't, you know, we've done this in the past, we didn't need the other secretary as a full position. We've been honest about that and not filled that position, so that's what we like to do. The funding for this proposal comes entirely from existing budgeted positions that are currently vacant. One is the vacant probation secretary position, and the other is the law clerk position that I've budgeted for. So under the current structure, you see the total budget for the first handout, the total budget is $227,420. Under the proposal, it would be just under 200,000, so 199.90. This represents a reduction of $28,329, or approximately 12.5%. Importantly, this reduction is achieved while maintaining service to the public and improving the flexibility in the operation of the court and probation. I anticipate there may be questions about why we are presenting this proposal now rather than waiting until the next budget cycle. There are a couple reasons. First, there is an immediate need within the probation department. The department has successfully condensed the 2 administrative positions into one, but that has highlighted the need for broader administrative coverage and cross-training. And this immediate need would be assisted by that part-time position that I've listed in proposal. The second, my bailiff recently resigned because her family was relocating. So the court, when I learned that she would be leaving, the court and probation began discussing this reorganization several months ago, and because it would significantly affect the type of employee we recruited and ultimately hired. And so before filling either position, we believe it would be important to present the complete proposal for consideration. Yesterday, we received the notification from council here to begin considering the significant budget restrictions that are coming with Senate Bill 1. And this proposal was not developed in response to that. We, again, had been working on this for several months, but after receiving that request, I think this advances your goals of reducing the overall budgets and being creative in doing it, combining what has traditionally been 2 separate departments, kind of combining some of those tasks into one. I know it doesn't reach that 15% that you've asked for, but 12.5% is what we're trying to do at this point. So I think it demonstrates that we've been proactive in looking for creative ways to handle this and operate more effectively and be good stewards of the county's resources. Any other questions that I can ask or answer for you? I'm sorry.
Just one that I have.
Sure.
Judge, is it, as you kind of went through, and thank you for the detail and everything you put into this, was that you're trying this out to see how it works. My only concern would be is if we try out and it doesn't work, or we gave raises and you can't really take pay away, and then you come back and you still need an extra position. Does that make sense? What I'm saying is if you're trying this and it doesn't work, what do you do next?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And so in my position, there's a couple things we could do. One, I think we could reduce back to what I'm reading, 2 of the employees are getting a raise, essentially, is what's happening, to compensate them additional work. So one of those, if it's not working, that's something we're going to have to evaluate. It's just not working, and you know, not losing a job, or we're just changing the job back down. That's one option. If it's
So that would be communicating with them that if you try
it just
and
doesn't work.
pay will revert back to what it was.
That's one. That's one option we could have. That's one. Second, you know, we've done it for just over a year now. We've had just one probation secretary, and it's worked with some growing pains, but it's worked. I think we could still probably, if it doesn't work, there's probably a need to have at least a part-time person. Right now, I just can't tell you in good faith we need 2 full-time positions there right now. You know what I mean? And so I think that's where that gap would be met, is we'd still have that part-time position probably. And that's where we would work. I think that's what we'd have to do.
So basically, from what I am hearing here, the raises are going to be affected because you're going to change the job descriptions.
They're going to have more
So
duties.
it's really, yeah, you can call it a raise, but their duties are.
Their duties are going to change.
They're going to change. So that's going to follow, the pay's going to follow it, so.
Yeah, I'll give a good example. So what we're thinking is, one of the big tasks I have, the court reporter does all of my court reporting. She's in the courtroom, when I'm on the record, she's in the courtroom recording. when she's on vacation, sick, has a day off, one of my other staff has to come in and do that work. Now, that's built, kind of anticipated. But it causes some problems. And a lot of times what happens is a lot of the work that she's able to do daily that comes along with that recording, or making the orders and things like that, those other staff sometimes have to kind of wait till she comes back to ask them questions. They don't do it enough. And so what I'd like to do is reduce her time in the courtroom a little bit, kind of put her more, she can kind of oversee kind of that court reporting work, but have the other staff members in the courtroom doing some of that. So that'll be a significant change for the work they're doing. They're also learning, two of my staff are gonna be learning some of the probation tasks and dealing with the probation side of the court operation. The probation secretary then is gonna be doing then the court side of it. So it's significant amount of change in what we're asking them to do.
And to be able to expedite this, basically, it would just require or updates to your job description, and then also salary ordinance to change it, right? Because the money's already appropriated, the money's already budgeted for.
We still need a salary ordinance, though.
So, I mean, it wouldn't be difficult from that perspective, right, at this point, before budget to do something like this, right? I mean, it wouldn't be sound right?
I'd like to echo what Seth brought up earlier, though, that it would be, those salaries that you're raising should never go back. It would be a very uncomfortable situation. Because it could be argued either way, and it wouldn't work. So if I trust in you, if you think this is gonna work, and you think those employees are worthy and capable, I would support you on it.
Appreciate that.
I'll remind council what happened the last time we offered a stipend because of an increase in responsibility. And then when those responsibilities fell off, we pulled the stipend. And what happened? That was the highway department. He's not here anymore. That's how bad that went over. And I certainly appreciate the 12.5% savings you're bringing to the council. I also appreciate the willingness to take a deep dive into a better way to sort of operate your court and probation. Looking at it from a council perspective is another question. I think what you're doing from a court perspective is a strong move. I would support this with the raises being effective January 1st. But I can't. And as far as sort of approving the hiring of a part-time person, I think that's a separate question. We could go there so that you can bring that person on and really begin to implement this new framework. Everybody else would just have to make an adjustment with an expectation that the raises would kick in on the 1st.
We could do like we did with the sheriff's department, where we did a commitment to say, and I believe this year, all things will be equal. We're not looking at major changes for maybe a year or two, but they will be coming. But that we could make the same commitment to say, hey, so when you're hiring people, that you have some knowledge that January 1, the pay increases would occur at that point. I mean, we have precedent doing that for the sheriff's department. I wouldn't mind saving the money you are to say the same thing to you, that would be a commitment we would make then at the budget season. Same thing, I don't have a problem if you need, because you are doing a good job of not filling a full-time position, to do the 10,000 for part-time, that doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, that's a different question, I think.
That, to me,
Understand.
I don't have heartburn over that one at all, because, and then also what it does, it gives you a chance to figure out between now and the end of the year, is this working or not?
Yeah, then when the new year comes, if you decide this isn't working, there's no pay cut because the increase was never given. So if we can have some kind of answer by the 1st as to whether you like this or not, I think that would be a reasonable expectation before those pay increases kick in, and then a month later you come and say, no, this really isn't working. Wouldn't want to go there. Does the council feel like that's a fair approach?
But we would be happy to give that clarity sheriff department to say, hey,
Yeah.
so when you're hiring somebody, you say start first of the year because of the expanded duties, whatever's, job description that changes, that you'd have a commitment of that pay increase.
Just to be clear, I have hired somebody for the bailiff position, but they have not started. And I don't know any of this.
Okay, well, that's.
Yeah, no, but my other staff has been told this is on the table. They knew I'd be coming here. But, yeah. Can I ask, Scott, I don't understand, I didn't understand your comment. Did you say if it doesn't work, that we couldn't pull back the money? Or do you think it would be
It
good?
would just, your employee satisfaction. would
Sure.
just go-
Which is what we experienced with the highway.
Okay, and I'm not sure what happened there.
That's what.
Right, right.
Okay,
I'm not saying you couldn't do it, I'm saying it would be very unpleasant for a lot of people.
yeah, I understand that. And I think, one thing, I think if it didn't work, there's some other options I think we could pivot from as well if it's not quite working like we thought. Because right now we're having the two different departments work. There's still a need, I think, within my court that I could do some things to equalize some of the job duties. Does that make sense, to try to manage it that way?
What you're saying, if this precise job description didn't work and we did give the pay raises, you think you could reassign some
Work to make it-
tasks to make it worth
Yes.
the higher?
Yes.
Higher pay?
I think, to justify that, yeah. I think that, yeah.
Do you ever, out of curiosity, I know he had left, but do you ever work closely with the Superior Court to see if there's shared staffing or things that can happen there? That, I don't know if there's much overlap that occurs, but is there ever an opportunity looking within the Superior Court as well?
I did let Judge Antrim know this is what we were talking about. Right now, I think it's his case load, case type, were different in that way, and so there's some changes there. I think we could always look at that. I think we should be doing that all the time. From time to time. No, it's a fair question, and I think there's always room to evaluate what we're doing, how we're doing it. I think we should always be looking to change as we can, and be more efficient. It's a little more difficult, but I think there's some room there. I think I'd like to kind of have a conversation with Judge Antrim about maybe some ways. There's some things, in doing this, I think there's some things I've thought about, like maybe we could do it this way or do it that way. So I'm always going to have that conversation, I'm
So
certainly.
I appreciate the out-of-box thinking here, and also the time you can save the county money, that's always.
And Judge, I want to be clear, we're not trying to make your life difficult, just really trying to protect us from stepping on, creating problems that we've encountered in the past.
No, I appreciate that. We just, an idea that we thought I felt as though I think being good stewards of the taxpayer money, we wanted to present an idea we think we could save some money. I think it would benefit my job. I mean, it makes having some people who are crossing, it makes it easier to manage things and handle people differently. Just kind of having the we have really good employees right now, and trying to match them up with their skill set and what they can do, and keeping them satisfied and reflect what they're, compensate them what they're doing. I appreciate that, so.
So is the council okay with Lisa doing a salary ordinance for at least a $10,000 part-time spot?
Yeah, we're
We're not replacing.
Yeah, we're removing probation secretary.
Part-time.
Yeah, however, that's itemized in the salary ordinance.
And then we'd have to vote at the next meeting, right?
Yes, and they're requesting the rate of $21.90 an hour.
Yep.
That's the only change on salary ordinance.
Which one would be removed? Secretary 2?
Yes.
Number 2 would be
This really has it.
a part-time.
Yeah,
Pulled
oh,
to part-time, so we have to.
Both of them right down
oh,
here.
okay.
Yeah. And he's taken.
Yeah, on the ordinance, that has to move from full-time to part-time, right? That's not just labeled probation secretary number 2, right? That's actually,
There we go. That's it.
On the salary ordinance, I will remove the full-time.
yeah,
I'll add part-time, but on their budget, we'll just transfer 10,000 from secretary 2 to part-time.
right.
So we'll still have money in it, in the budget.
we've been talking about this for quite some time, and I think we're pretty clear about the court reporter part of this, wanting to adjust that role. It's, to Chelsea's point about, what if this doesn't work? That portion of it, I think we feel pretty strongly about. Other counties operate that way. It just allows the court to keep flowing at all times and not being so dependent on one employee. So that part of it we felt pretty strongly about for some time. Intended to bring that to budget time. This has just kind of spurred that quicker. And I did want to, it sounds like we plan to approve the part-time position. We were ignorant to the idea that we couldn't just fill someone part-time within the full-time line.
Makes sense in a normal business, right?
Yeah, so we intended to do that, and actually we already engaged with someone who previously worked for us, and we really need the help now in that sense. We've had an overlap in probation officers that you've approved for us to get someone trained. Our most senior officer is leaving very shortly. That person in training has really helped a lot with the administrative stuff. In a few days, she's really not going to have time to do any of that anymore. So that's brought the immediate need of we really do need that part-time position filled to keep operating day to day.
We'll get that done right away.
And that gets you to pass budget to January then,
Yeah.
right? Okay, that'll be
that should
okay.
be fine. Just wanted to clarify a couple of things.
I have one more question. On the law clerk, is that someone you have someone now?
No, I never filled it.
Okay.
I'd asked.
Is that a desire? You went from
be
that
honest with you,
potential to a no on this.
I always, it was an ask I made of you, I think, 2 budgets ago, to have that position. Just trying to find the person at the time, I wasn't able to find someone initially. What's changed is just how I do my work's changed a little bit with doing some research in AI. That's what they would have done, is some research and handle some smaller orders and things like that the court works on. And I think that I don't need that position as much as I once did, the way I'm doing some work now. And so if that makes sense, just innovative how I'm doing some work.
So we never did fill that, or
I just never filled it, yeah. And it was asked, it was kind of this would be nice to have, and it would be helpful. We just never filled it.
And on this, it's all base pay, so that's under the matrix, right? Beginning matrix, okay.
Yeah.
I also had, the lunchtime you have is 1 hour now?
Correct.
Okay, and when you went to paperless, did that change the job as far as making more or less, or?
Question for me again, so.
Well, I guess from the court side, he can answer his staff. From my staff, in some ways it made it easier. In some ways it made it different, not harder, but just different. And so it increases, I'll give you an example, just from my perspective, like what I do. So I can get a stack of files, and I can go through those and I'm just signing my name, and some of, 75% of them are pretty routine. I'm just signing. And that's really fast. The problem is now when you're on a computer and you have to click, and it can be cumbersome. I can't, on the very routine things, I can't get through them as quickly when we're paperless as I could when I was handwriting. There are some advantages though. I'm in a conference this week, for example. I can pull my computer up and I can look at stuff and sign bits. I can do things more away from the office, at home. If I get some time in the evening, weekend, or I can put one knocks that I can do that. That part is easier. For my staff, I think it's made it easier on some parts of their job, similarly. In some parts, I think it's more, how to explain this? They're working within this framework that they have to, how they have to process their cases, and it makes it a little more cumbersome because you have to click and you have to wait. And whereas before they could fill some things out, type something up, and move it on down, and now they have to. It's a little more nuanced than that. It's better. Notices go out to the attorneys automatically, electronically. This stuff comes in much quicker. It's resulted in attorneys expecting things to be turned around faster. When it used to be somebody would file something, they'd mail it in or bring it in. It would take time to go from the clerk's office up to the court, and get processed, and it would take days, maybe a week, a couple weeks. It just took time. And now electronic, stuff will be filed sometimes the attorneys are calling a couple days like, hey, we haven't seen that order turned around yet. And so it's changed that, the expectation that it's like email, you know, and we know when you wrote a letter to somebody, you waited, and they write a letter back. Now email, you know, is great at first, but, you know, all of you now have experienced, like, I emailed you at noon, and at 12:10, why didn't you respond to my email? You know, and so it's sped things up, it's made things better, it's caused a different set of headaches. If that makes sense, I don't know if I explained that well or not.
Yes, thank you.
For probation.
Yeah, for us, it's cut our administrative staff time. We've automated our check-in process. We've automated some paperwork and starting things that, you know, she can do automatically. A lot of our forms that she used to have to collect. You know, she's got QR codes and things like that she has people filling out remotely even. They don't have to come in. So we've done a lot of things that have made her job quicker. And that's really been a lot of the ability to move down from 2 to, you know, 1 1/4 or so here. It's more complex. She's got a lot more to track, and there's a lot more kind of in the abstract that kind of puts a whole lot more responsibility on her, because there isn't that file on your desk reminding you need to do it, and she's got a pretty complex system of using, you know, a lot of Microsoft Suite products, and so, you know, I think the job's gotten harder, more complex, and takes a different skill set than it used to, but it's more efficient. And so, you know, her day-to-day, just answering the phone, greeting someone at the door, she does a whole lot less of that. A whole lot more of her work is complex and challenging. So really the position's just changing, and we're just trying to adapt with reality, you know, and so it didn't make sense for us to, you know, pay 2 full-time people if a lot of the work can be done elsewhere. But it's taking, you know, a certain skill set to fill it, you know, now that, you know, maybe is more than would have needed in the past.
Thank you.
Council, is there anything else for?
I'd just like to say I appreciate what you guys are doing, trying to look into this, save taxpayer money, and that's a good, shows some good leadership.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
The last quick item that we
need to approve the salary.
already had that draft first, and then we approve it. Okay. All right, do I have a motion to go ahead and approve the salary ordinance for the $10,000 part-time position?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Vicki. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have another quick question on this topic. What is, how will you move forward at this point?
How will I move forward
Yeah, what do you think?
with what you've done tonight?
Well, no, with what we haven't done tonight.
Anticipating that you're considering, you're open to the idea of, in the next budget cycle, adding these positions, so I'll present the budget, reflect that going forward. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna talk about it after we leave here, I'm sure, but I think what we're gonna do, and Stephen may jump in here if he thinks I'm wrong, but I think, you know, I've got a new person I'm training to be the bailiff right now, for example, they're gonna start in a couple of weeks. At the same time, I think it's one, we can start slowly making some of these changes in the next 6 months, till we get to that point, with this anticipation that they'll be compensated for. I think we can start that. It's gonna take some time to train them. And I think it's a reasonable ask of you, if they're not doing this work we're anticipating, where we're gonna be in a year from now. And so if we can slowly start to kind of get them down that path. So I think we'll start training them to line up so that they're doing it by the end of the year. This is what they're doing, is my anticipation. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
The last item we need to discuss, we don't have to vote on it, but every year, this time of year, we do have Lisa put together a local income tax form that we have to submit. If we don't submit one, we can't change anything at all. If we submit it, we do have the right or ability to change it. So every year, we basically have Lisa leave it the same that it has been. You're not gonna right. Make sure I don't.
Yes, usually you just have to, if you want to make changes, you fill out the form and have a public hearing and make the lit changes and send it to the DLGF. There's an August 1st deadline to submit a letter to the DLGF stating that you might make changes in the coming year, or you might not. But if they don't have a letter by August 1st, you can't do anything.
Can't do anything.
So, I
It
guess.
just hedges our ability to
Yes.
make changes if we end up finding out that we need to.
So if you would like me to draft some sort of a letter for your July meeting, you can pass it and have me send it to the DLGF. And then if you decide to do something this year, you can. If you decide you don't want to do anything this year, you don't have to.
Makes sense to
There's
at
no
least
reason
have it
not
there.
to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Change-
Yeah.
No reason
Gives
not
you
to.
ability there, flexibility.
Yeah, if you don't mind doing that more passive control at our July.
Probably should do that every year, just
Yeah.
standard procedure.
That's
Yeah.
what she asked me, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, we were doing it every year, so why would you not?
Right.
Anything else for the greater good? If not, do I have a motion to conclude the meeting?
So moved. You got a lot of them.
We got three
You got a
first
Okay.
and a
All in
second.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll let you figure out.
All right.